You've been taught that mental pictures are the engine of manifestation, that if you close your eyes and imagine clearly enough, the universe will eventually hand you what you saw. Yet here's the quiet truth you've already discovered: the pictures feel vivid, even intoxicating, but the cycle remains. You wake, you visualize, you script, and then life drifts back to its familiar rhythm. Why? Because in the quantum sense, images are like postcards. They remind you of a place, but they don't transport you there. It isn't the picture that opens the door, it's the signal you emit while holding that picture. Think of yourself as a radio tower. Every thought, every choice, every breath sends out a frequency. When the tower hums with static, even the clearest song cannot be heard. Your vision might be sharp, crystal clear on your vision board, but if your signal is filled with anxiety, doubt, or someday energy, the field around you picks up the static, not the image. This is why one person can picture wealth and end up only deepening scarcity, while another hardly visualizes, yet radiates a frequency that bends opportunities toward them. Pause and notice this frequency is not about pretending. It isn't about faking confidence or reciting affirmations until you're blue in the face. Frequency is embodiment, the way your body holds itself, the rhythm of your breathing, the choices you default to under pressure. If you imagine health but constantly feed your body from stress, the field doesn't receive health, it receives strain. If you picture deep connection yet retreat whenever intimacy approaches, the field doesn't detect connection, it hears avoidance. What that actually means is simple pictures alone cannot bridge the gap. They must be matched by the broadcast of coherence. That broadcast comes from living as though the picture is no longer a dream, but a state you inhabit. Not tomorrow, now. Imagine standing at the edge of a lake with a pebble in your hand. You can envision ripples spreading across the water all day long. But until you drop the pebble, nothing stirs. Your frequency is the pebble. Without it, the water remains still. With it, the entire surface reorganizes. This is the difference between imagining a life and generating the signal of that life. So here's what shifts next. Stop asking, why hasn't my picture manifested? And begin asking, what am I broadcasting while I hold this picture? Notice your shoulders, is there tension? Notice your breath, is it shallow? Notice your language, are you saying, I hope it comes, or I'm living it now? The subtleties matter because the quantum field doesn't read your mood boards. It registers your coherence. Feel the difference when you change one detail. Straighten your posture right now. Let your shoulders roll back. Take a slow inhale through your nose. Hold it gently, then exhale longer than you inhaled. Do this 3 times. That's not visualization, that's frequency correction. Your signal just shifted. The field noticed. This micro practice reveals the core distinction. Pictures point, but frequency pulls. Images inspire, but signals attract. When you stop chasing the mirage of mental movies and begin broadcasting steady coherence, you'll notice reality no longer resists. It rearranges. And this is just the beginning of the path you're stepping into, the science of signal, where alignment isn't a wish but a broadcast. You've heard it said that the universe doesn't respond to your words, but to your energy. The real question is, what makes up that energy? What is this signal you're sending into the quantum field every second of your life? If visualization alone doesn't move reality, what does? The answer lies in the anatomy of your energetic broadcast. Think of it as a living composition. Every part of your being contributes, like instruments in an orchestra. Sometimes they harmonize, sometimes they clash, and the field reflects the song you play. Pause here. Imagine yourself as a tower broadcasting signals across space. You might assume your thoughts are the message, but thoughts are only one instrument. your nervous system, your breathing patterns, your posture, your emotions, and your subconscious expectations blend together to create the true frequency you carry. That frequency is what the universe receives, not your morning affirmations, not the vision board on your wall, but the vibration that radiates when you walk into a room, even in silence. Your identity sits at the core, and by identity, I don't mean the labels you use or the stories you tell. I mean the way you act when no one is looking, the way you respond in silence, the tone of your inner voice when stress presses against you. That silent identity is your conductor. It sets the tempo for everything else. If that identity is soaked in fear, the whole orchestra stumbles. If it carries certainty, even quietly, the instruments align. Think of your breath as the drumbeat, steady or chaotic. It sets the rhythm. Your emotions are the strings, weaving a melody sometimes harmonious, sometimes jagged. Your words are the brass, bold and striking. And your nervous system is the percussion beneath it all, subtle yet commanding. When these layers clash, your signal scatters. When they flow together, coherence emerges. That coherence is what bends reality. Feel the difference when you shift just one element. Straighten your posture right now. Notice how your chest opens. Take a slow inhale through your nose. Hold for a count. Then exhale longer than you inhaled. Repeat 3 times. Can you feel it? That's not imagination, it's physiology. In less than a minute, your field adjusts. Your breath steadies the drumbeat. Your shoulders soften the strings. Your nervous system tunes itself toward harmony, and the universe listens. Research suggests your heart generates an electromagnetic field far stronger than your brain. That means emotions are not fleeting moods, they are broadcasts. Each time you breathe with intention, choose calm over panic, or allow gratitude to rise instead of bitterness, you amplify that broadcast. People sense it without knowing why. They describe you as magnetic, steady, or calming. It isn't luck, it's coherence. Here's a 60-second practice to map your baseline field. Sit upright, feet grounded. Place one hand on your chest, the other on your stomach. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. Stomach rising first. Hold briefly. Exhale through your mouth for 6 counts. Repeat 5 times. With each breath, whisper, "This is my signal. I choose coherence." That's all it takes to reset your frequency. Language also plays its role. Words aren't simply sounds, they are instructions to your nervous system. If you say, "I trust abundance," but tense your shoulders while paying bills, the signal collapses. If you say, "I believe in love," yet recoil from intimacy, the broadcast splits. The key is not to fake positivity, but to align language with posture, breath, and emotion. When they match, the message is clear. Think of it like a radio station. If you're tuned halfway between channels, all you hear is static. Most people broadcast static. They picture wealth but embody scarcity. They visualize love but radiate avoidance. They affirm peace but live in restlessness. The field doesn't punish, it simply mirrors what it receives. And what it receives is noise. So here's your invitation. Start treating your signal like music. Ask yourself daily, what is my body transmitting right now? What melody are my emotions weaving? What story is my breath telling? What chorus are my words singing? When you align even 2 instruments, the others often follow. That's when the static fades. That's when your frequency cuts through interference. That's when the field leans closer. Your life isn't waiting for pictures alone. It's waiting for the orchestra of coherence. Not perfection, not performance, just alignment. Even modest alignment, repeated daily, transforms static into song. And once you hear that music inside, the world cannot help but dance to its rhythm. Every time you step into a new intention, you carry your entire past with you. Not just your memories, but the energetic fingerprints of everything you've experienced. Your nervous system doesn't forget the years of scarcity, rejection, or stress. It encodes them, and when you try to embody a higher frequency, that history can rise up like an anchor, pulling you back into old patterns. This is why stepping into a new signal feels like climbing uphill. It isn't because you're broken. It's because your system has been rehearsing a different rhythm for years. Pause here. Think of your body as a house you've been living in for decades. Every wall is painted with experiences. Every floorboard creaks with memory. Now you decide you want to renovate. You bring in new furniture, fresh paint, new designs, but the old structure doesn't vanish overnight. Dust rises, old wires resist, pipes groan. Renovation always brings chaos before beauty. Your energetic field works the same way. The moment you introduce a new frequency, your old conditioning starts to resist. Not because you're failing, but because you're building anew. What that actually means is this: you are not failing when resistance shows up. You are experiencing recalibration. Old programs don't dissolve instantly. They protest. When you start choosing confidence after years of fear, your nervous system flags it as danger because it's unfamiliar. When you act abundant after decades of scarcity, your system might whisper, "This is unsafe." That whisper isn't truth, it's conditioning. Think of it like software running in the background of your mind. For years, it's been writing code that says, stay small, stay cautious, stay the same. And when you try to install a new program of expansion, the old software throws error messages. The mistake is believing those error messages are prophecy. They are not. They are echoes. Feel the difference when you see resistance as proof of growth instead of evidence of failure. That moment of discomfort is your body trying to protect you. And ironically, the very discomfort you fear is the bridge to your next identity. Discomfort is not punishment. It's proof you're rewriting the code. Now, how do you actually bridge the gap between your old identity and your new one? You create intermediate steps. I call them identity bridges. Imagine trying to leap from one rooftop to another across a wide gap. If you jump all at once, the risk feels impossible. But if you build planks across one by one, you can cross steadily. Identity works the same way. Here's an example. Let's say you're currently in financial struggle but want to embody abundance. Instead of declaring, "I am wealthy," and feeling like a liar, you create a bridge identity. The first bridge might be, "I am learning to receive." The next, "I am practicing financial confidence." Then, "I am building stability." Each bridge feels safer to your nervous system. Each step gives your body time to adjust before moving further, which brings us to the renovation metaphor again. When you remodel a house, you don't tear down every wall at once. You move room by room. You update wiring gradually, and slowly, the entire home transforms. That's what bridging does for your identity. It renovates gently, without collapsing the whole structure at once. Pause and try this. Recall one area where you're striving for transformation. Now design a bridge identity for it. Make it believable, but just beyond your current comfort zone. Write it down. Speak it softly. Notice how your body responds. That bridge is not pretending it's scaffolding for growth. Another image, think of radio static when tuning a station. At first, all you hear is noise. Then a faint melody comes through. That's your bridge. You're not at full clarity yet, but you're closer than before. Stay tuned long enough, and the signal clears. So here's the takeaway. Your history does not disqualify you. It explains why change feels foreign. The resistance you meet isn't proof you're failing. It's evidence that you're entering a new field. Treat your discomfort like renovation dust. Treat your doubt like static on the radio. And build bridges your nervous system can cross safely. With each bridge, with each step, your frequency stabilizes, and the field responds accordingly. When you think about transformation, you often imagine grand gestures, massive lifestyle changes, bold declarations, sudden leaps into a new version of yourself. Yet in reality, the field responds most powerfully to the small, repeated adjustments you make day after day. These micro redirects are what I call frequency anchors. They are the subtle shifts that stabilize your new signal and rewire your nervous system without overwhelming it. Pause and notice this: your life is a series of micro decisions. Each one carries energetic weight. How you breathe when you're stressed, how you speak about yourself in casual conversation, how you respond when someone doubts you. Each of these small choices is a frequency broadcast, and over time, the accumulation of micro-choices builds the signal that the quantum field reflects back to you. Think of it like walking through a forest and leaving footprints. A single step might not seem to matter, but after many steps, you create a path. Your nervous system follows the same principle. Every time you redirect from fear to calm, from doubt to trust, from scarcity to sufficiency, you're carving a new trail. The more you repeat it, the easier it becomes to walk that trail without effort. What that actually means is you don't have to transform your entire life overnight. You just have to keep placing frequency anchors, one at a time, anchor by anchor. The signal becomes stable. Here are 5 examples of micro redirects you can practice today. 1. Breath anchor. When stress rises, pause and exhale twice as long as you inhale. This signals safety to your nervous system and recalibrates your field within seconds. 2. Language anchor. Replace "I can't afford this" with "I'm choosing where my resources flow." The meaning shifts from limitation to agency, changing how your body receives the statement. 3. Posture anchor. The next time you feel insecure, lift your chest, roll your shoulders back, and plant your feet firmly. This tells your nervous system, "I belong here." 4. Emotion anchor. When doubt appears, place your hand on your heart and whisper one word of gratitude. Gratitude softens fear and recenters your signal. 5. Choice anchor. In moments of uncertainty, ask, "What would the future me choose right now?" Then take one small action aligned with that answer. Feel the difference when you use even one of these anchors. Each micro-choice is like a stone dropped in water. The ripples spread far beyond the moment itself. That's how coherence builds, not in giant waves of effort, but in consistent ripples of alignment. Think of it like tuning an instrument. A guitar doesn't stay in tune forever. It requires small adjustments each time it's played. Your frequency works the same way. Without micro-adjustments, your signal drifts. With them, your signal stays steady, even under stress. Here's a simple exercise for the next 24 hours. Pick one anchor, just one. Maybe it's breath, maybe it's language. Commit to practicing it every time the old pattern surfaces. Notice how your body feels by the end of the day. This is how neural pathways rewire, not in grand moments, but in repetitions. Which brings us to the science. Neuroscience shows that each time you choose a new response, you weaken the old neural circuit and strengthen the new one. This is called neuroplasticity. The more often you practice, the more automatic the new pattern becomes. Over time, your nervous system defaults to the elevated frequency without conscious effort. That's the power of anchoring. Pause again and reflect: how often have you dismissed the small shift, telling yourself it wasn't enough? Yet the small shift is the very foundation. The universe doesn't require massive proof from you. It requires consistency. It listens for a steady signal, not occasional surges. So here's the takeaway: transformation isn't about one big leap. It's about building anchors into your daily rhythm. Breath anchors, language anchors, posture anchors, emotional anchors, choice anchors. Each one strengthens your signal. Each one stabilizes your field. Together, they create coherence the field cannot ignore. And when coherence becomes your habit, reality begins to reorganize itself around you, not because you begged for it, but because you anchored it into being. By now, you've seen how posture, language, and micro-choices shift your frequency. But the real amplifier, the powerhouse of your signal, is something deeper. It's the mechanism of coherence between your heart and your brain. This is not abstract poetry. It's physiology. When these two centers operate in harmony, the electromagnetic field you generate becomes steady, powerful, and magnetic. The field listens. People feel it. Reality bends to it. Pause here. Your heart is not just a pump. It's a transmitter. Science shows it produces an electromagnetic field many times stronger than your brain's. That field extends several feet beyond your body, which means before you even speak a word, you are broadcasting a signal into the space around you. And your brain, it provides focus, direction, meaning. But coherence is only reached when heart and brain send the same message. Without that harmony, your field scatters. Think of your brain as the conductor and your heart as the drum. The conductor sets intention. The drum holds rhythm. When they sync, music flows. When they conflict, noise emerges. Most people live in conflict. They think hopeful thoughts while carrying anxious hearts. They speak affirmations while feeling unworthy inside. That contradiction is why results stall. The field mirrors the confusion. What that actually means is coherence is not about perfect positivity, it's about alignment. The thoughts you repeat must be paired with emotions that resonate. Otherwise, you're sending mixed signals. Imagine dialing two different frequencies at once. No station comes through clearly. Coherence is dialing one frequency fully until it rings steady. Feel the difference when your heart and brain align. For a moment, recall someone you love deeply. Let that feeling expand in your chest. Now pair it with a thought of possibility. My life is opening. Breathe slowly while holding both. Can you sense the shift? That is coherence, a unity of thought and emotion sending one powerful broadcast. Here's a practical 3-step practice to create it. 1. Heart focus. Close your eyes, place a hand on your chest. Direct attention to your heart area. 2. Heart breath. Inhale through your nose for 5 counts. Exhale through your mouth for 5. Imagine breath flowing in and out of your chest. 3. Heart feeling. Recall a moment of gratitude, care, or compassion. Let it fill your chest. Hold that feeling as you continue breathing. Do this for 3 minutes. Your brain waves and heart rhythm begin to synchronize. You literally become a coherent emitter. The signal grows stronger, steadier, clearer. Which brings us to the field. When you maintain coherence, others sense it. They may not know why, but they feel calmer, safer, or more open around you. Opportunities unfold more naturally. Synchronicities appear. This isn't mystical, it's resonance. You are no longer scattering your energy in conflicting directions. You are sending one clear broadcast, and the field mirrors it. Think of it like a lighthouse. A fractured signal flickers, confusing ships. A coherent signal shines steadily, guiding vessels to shore. That's what your coherence does. It stabilizes the environment around you. Here's another exercise. The next time you face stress, pause for 60 seconds and enter heart breath mode. Even if the world feels chaotic, Let your breath and chest anchor you, then pair it with a single elevated thought, like I am safe or I choose clarity. Notice how quickly your body recalibrates. That is coherence in action. Science backs this up. Studies show coherent states increase immune function, improve focus, and generate resilience under pressure. But beyond the data, you feel it. Decisions come easier, conversations flow, doubt loses grip, because the field isn't receiving contradictions anymore, it's receiving one unified message. Pause again. Imagine living an entire day with coherence as your baseline. Walking into rooms with your chest open, your breath steady, your mind and heart aligned. Every interaction becomes different. You radiate steadiness instead of restlessness. And without forcing outcomes begin shifting toward you. So here's the takeaway: coherence is your amplifier. Visualization points the direction. Micro anchors keep you on track. But coherence supercharges the signal. It's the difference between static and a steady beacon. Practice heart-brain coherence daily, even for a few minutes, and watch how the field responds. Because once your broadcast is steady, the universe has no choice but to reflect it back. When your frequency begins to stabilize, life often whispers before it shouts. Subtle signals appear: changes in mood, small synchronicities, conversations that arrive at the right time. These are signs of convergence. They mark the moment when the field begins aligning your inner state with outer reality. But here's the paradox: if you chase these signs, you dissolve their power. Obsession scrambles the signal. Attentive awareness, on the other hand, deepens it. Pause here. Think about the last time you noticed a repeating number, a chance encounter, or an unexpected invitation. Your rational mind may have brushed it off, but something deeper stirred. These aren't coincidences, they're reflections, fragments of the field beginning to converge around the frequencies you've been transmitting. Yet too many people make the mistake of gripping onto these signs as though they are the prize itself. They're not. They're mile markers, not the destination. What that actually means is this: when convergent signs appear, your job isn't to celebrate prematurely or cling desperately. Your job is to anchor deeper, to continue embodying the frequency that produced the sign in the first place. Because the field doesn't reward excitement, it responds to consistency. Take the number 777 as an example. Many traditions view it as sacred, a signature of alignment. When you see it, it's not declaring that abundance is about to drop on your doorstep. It's mirroring the fact that your broadcast has become coherent enough for the field to echo back. It's not a promise, it's a reflection. And your responsibility in that moment is to maintain the vibration, not to collapse into obsession. Feel the difference when you treat signs as confirmations rather than cravings. One approach says, I saw the sign, therefore it must happen now. The other says, I saw the sign, therefore I know I'm aligned. Let me continue. The first scatters energy into neediness. The second deepens coherence into stability. Here's a practice: the next time you encounter a synchronicity, whether a repeating number, a familiar phrase, or a chance encounter, pause and breathe. Place a hand on your chest, smile gently, and whisper, "Thank you, I will continue." This response anchors the frequency without creating attachment. You recognize the sign, but you don't cling to it. Think of convergence like the tuning of an old radio. At first, static dominates. Then suddenly, a clear note pierces through. That note is your sign. But if you stop tuning because you heard one note, the song never plays. Keep turning the dial. Keep holding the frequency. The full melody emerges only through persistence. Another image: convergence is like the first drops of rain before a storm. You wouldn't celebrate as if the floodgates have opened. you'd recognize the environment is shifting. The same is true with signs. They're droplets, not the downpour. Treat them with gratitude, not desperation. Signs also show up in your emotional body. You might notice sudden waves of calm for no clear reason, or an old trigger no longer pulls you into chaos. These internal shifts are signs just as powerful as repeating numbers. They reveal that your nervous system is synchronizing with the new frequency. Yet if you dismiss them or search frantically for external proof, you weaken the process. Internal convergence matters as much as external. Which brings us to relationships. Sometimes the clearest signs arrive through people. Someone affirms a thought you've been holding quietly. A stranger says a phrase that mirrors your meditation. These encounters are not random. They're echoes of your field-shaping external dialogue. But again, the purpose is not to fixate on the person or the phrase. The purpose is to recognize my frequency is being mirrored. Stay steady. Here's a grounding ritual. Create a journal specifically for convergent signs. Each time one appears, write it down with a simple note, confirmation received. Continue. This practice prevents obsession. Instead of clinging, you acknowledge, record, and move forward. Over time, you'll see a pattern, forming a trail of echoes that confirm your field is becoming coherent. Pause again. Imagine what happens if you obsess over every sign, dissecting it, demanding more proof. The energy shifts from gratitude to desperation. The broadcast wavers, but if you acknowledge signs with calm appreciation and then return to your practices, you strengthen the very frequency that attracted the sign. That's the paradox. The less you need the sign, the more powerful it becomes. So here's the takeaway: signs of convergence are not finish lines. They're checkpoints. They are the universe whispering, you're on the right frequency, keep going. Obsessing over them weakens the signal. Recognizing them with gratitude and returning to your practice strengthens it. The field doesn't respond to craving. It responds to coherence. So when signs arrive, breathe, smile, and anchor deeper. That's how convergence becomes crystallization. As your signal strengthens, the old reality doesn't always fade quietly. Often, it resists. This resistance can feel like chaos, unexpected challenges, sudden doubts, or old habits roaring back louder than ever. Many mistake this as failure, as though the universe is testing them or denying them. But the truth is simpler. You are in the tunnel moment, just before a breakthrough. The old structure often intensifies its grip before dissolving completely. Pause here. Think of quantum tunneling in physics. A particle approaches an energy barrier it shouldn't be able to cross. Classical rules say it stops. Yet in the quantum world, it sometimes slips through, appearing on the other side as if the barrier didn't exist. Consciousness behaves in a similar way. When you embody a new frequency, you sometimes face barriers that seem impenetrable. Fear spikes, circumstances tighten. Yet this is not proof of defeat, it is evidence of collapse. The old pattern is cracking. What that actually means is resistance is not a sign you're off course. It's the friction of transformation. Imagine renovating a house. You remove walls, dust fills the air, wires spark, noise echoes. If you judged the project in that moment, you'd think it was worse than before, but the chaos is part of the restructuring. The tunnel moment is the energetic equivalent of renovation dust. You are not going backward, you are clearing space for the new. Feel the difference when you treat obstacles as evidence of collapse rather than punishment. Suddenly, stress loses its sting. Instead of thinking, this is proof it's not working, you begin saying, this is what it looks like when the old breaks down. That single shift in interpretation steadies your field, and steadiness is what the field mirrors back. Now apply this micro choice when turbulence rises. Anchor into a 1-minute rescue sequence. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold briefly, then exhale for 8 counts. Drop your shoulders. Relax your gaze. Whisper softly, "I'm tunneling through." In 60 seconds, your nervous system shifts from panic to presence, and presence is what carries you through the tunnel. Think of another metaphor: flying through turbulence. When an airplane hits rough air, passengers panic, but pilots know turbulence doesn't last. They don't abandon the flight. They stabilize, adjust altitude, and ride it out. Your role is the same. When the air of your reality shakes, you don't leap out, you stabilize your inner system until smoother air returns. Another image, think of mining. You're digging through rock, inch by inch. Resistance is constant, but just before striking gold, the rock layer hardens. Push a little longer and treasure emerges. Too many stop just before the breakthrough. They misinterpret resistance as a wall instead of the final layer before light. The tunnel moment is that hardened rock, the test of persistence. Which brings us to the deeper pattern. The tunnel moment often arrives right before convergence crystallizes. Why? Because the old frequency doesn't vanish instantly. It unravels. Old habits, beliefs, and fears cling desperately for survival. The louder they become, the closer you are to dissolving them. Many give up here, not realizing they were steps from breakthrough. The storm before the calm is not punishment, it is preparation. Here's a resilience toolkit for the tunnel. 1. Breath sequence, elongated exhale to reset your nervous system. 2. Body reset, stand, shake your arms gently, release tension. Movement signals safety. 3. Language shift, replace "why me" with "this is growth." Words anchor perspective. 4. Vision recall, close your eyes and recall your future self. Let that identity pull you forward. 5. Gratitude spark, name one thing, however small, that is working right now. Gratitude grounds the signal. Pause and practice one right now. Notice the subtle difference in your body as you shift from reaction to resilience. That is tunneling energy, choosing presence in the storm. Each time you apply a tool, you reinforce the signal that the old no longer governs you. It's important to remember that the tunnel moment is temporary. No storm lasts forever. No wall is truly solid at the quantum level. Every barrier is porous when met with coherence, and every collapse, no matter how chaotic, creates the foundation for the next structure. If you can endure the noise without abandoning your frequency, you emerge stronger, steadier, and clearer than before. So here's the takeaway: the tunnel moment is not the end. It is the threshold. Resistance is not punishment. It is collapse. Old realities thrash before dissolving. When you anchor into presence, when you apply resilience tools, you don't just survive turbulence, you emerge coherent, steady, and free. That is the power of tunneling through. One of the most misunderstood aspects of transformation is the leap. People assume they must jump directly from their current self to their desired self in one dramatic motion. And when that leap feels impossible, they conclude they are incapable. But transformation is not a leap, it's a ladder. Each rung is what I call an identity bridge. These bridges give your nervous system time to adapt safely to the new frequency, preventing collapse or self-sabotage. Pause here. Imagine trying to leap from one rooftop to another. The gap is wide, the fall is terrifying, and few would dare to risk it. But place a ladder between the rooftops, and the same journey becomes manageable. Identity bridging is that ladder. It allows you to cross gradually with stability, until you embody the version of yourself you once thought unreachable. What that actually means is this: you don't have to become the final version of your future self overnight. You only need to embody the next believable step. Each bridge identity carries its own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. When you practice them consistently, your body begins to normalize the new frequency. And once normalized, you move to the next bridge. Step by step, you arrive. Let's look at a 3-stage bridge example in the realm of abundance. Stage 1, I am learning to receive. This identity shifts you from scarcity into openness. Stage 2, I am practicing financial steadiness. Here, you embody calm responsibility without needing perfection. Stage 3, I am stewarding abundance wisely. By now, your nervous system trusts the signal, and the final identity of abundance feels natural. Each stage is believable. Each stage conditions your system for the next. Feel the difference when you stop demanding giant leaps and instead build bridges. Suddenly, the process no longer feels like pretending. It feels like training. Pretending creates dissonance. Training builds coherence. That shift removes pressure and anchors progress. Here's a practice. Choose one area of your life where you want change: health, relationships, creativity, finance. Write down your current identity in that area. Then write your ideal future identity. Now design 2 bridge identities in between. Keep them believable. Speak them aloud daily, not as wishful affirmations, but as training statements. This is who I am practicing being. Think of another metaphor. Video games don't begin at the final level. They offer stages, each building your skills until you're ready for the boss fight. Identity works the same way. Each bridge stage trains your nervous system to handle more coherence. Skip levels and you overload. Move steadily and you succeed, which brings us to nervous system safety. Why does bridging matter so much? Because sudden leaps can trigger old survival programs. If you try to embody wealth while your body still fears scarcity, your system panics. That panic pulls you back to the old identity, but bridging creates safety. It assures your system, we're not abandoning the familiar, we're expanding gradually. Safety is what allows change to last. Pause again. Notice how your body feels when you say, I am wealthy now, compared to I am learning to receive. One may feel like resistance, the other like relief. That relief is your nervous system saying, yes, I can believe this. Always choose the identity that feels believable yet expansive. That is your true bridge. Here's a laddering protocol. 1. Define your current identity. 2. Define your ultimate identity. 3. Create 2 to 3 bridge identities in between. 4. Embody each bridge for at least 21 days with thought, language, posture, and action. 5. Move forward when the bridge feels natural, not forced. Over time, these bridges stack like stones in a river. Eventually, you cross without fear, and what once felt unreachable becomes your normal. So here's the takeaway: transformation is not about leaping into a fantasy self. It's about constructing identity bridges that your nervous system can accept and embody. Each bridge is a rung on the ladder. Each rung, a frequency you stabilize. Walk steadily, and the future you've envisioned stops being a dream. It becomes the ground you stand on. Every transformation you embody doesn't remain private. The frequency you stabilize radiates outward, and inevitably, relationships begin to shift in response. This is the ecology of the social field. Others feel your signal, consciously or unconsciously, and they will respond to it sometimes with admiration, sometimes with resistance. To navigate this, You must learn boundary ecology, the art of sustaining your frequency while engaging with others without guilt or collapse. Pause here. Think about the last time you walked into a room feeling unusually calm and clear. Did people treat you differently? Did some open up while others seemed unsettled? That's not coincidence. The field you broadcast alters the field of the room. Every conversation becomes an exchange of energy signals. And once you begin stabilizing a new frequency, others may instinctively test it. What that actually means is this relationships often function as mirrors. When you shift, the reflection changes. Friends who were comfortable with your old patterns might resist the new you. Colleagues may challenge your steadiness. Family members may test your boundaries. None of this is proof you're wrong. It's proof the signal is real. Boundary ecology requires two skills. First, discernment, recognizing which interactions nourish your frequency and which deplete it. Second, language, the ability to communicate boundaries clearly without collapsing into guilt. Boundaries are not punishments. They are signals that say, "This is the vibration I now live in. If you wish to connect with me, come here." Feel the difference when you set boundaries from alignment rather than defensiveness. One says, "Stay away because I'm afraid." The other says, "Here is where I stand because I'm clear." The first invites conflict. The second invites respect. Here's a practice: craft boundary statements that are short, kind, and steady. For example, "I appreciate your concern, but I'm making a different choice for myself. I need space to process this. Let's return to it later. That doesn't align with where I am right now, but thank you for understanding." Notice how each statement communicates clarity without aggression. You're not fighting, you're signaling. Which brings us to rehearsal, because boundaries often trigger old guilt. It helps to practice them before live interactions. Try this role-play script. Imagine a friend pressures you to return to an old habit. Friend, "Come on, don't be so serious. Just do it the way you used to." You steady breath. Calm tone, "I get where you're coming from, but that doesn't feel right for me anymore. I'm choosing differently now." Friend, "So you think you're better than us? You not at all. I just know what's best for me right now, and I'm sticking with it. I respect your choices, and I ask you to respect mine." This short script anchors you in presence while modeling respect. No defense, no apology, no collapse, only clarity. Pause again. Imagine applying this in your daily life. A colleague tries to draw you into gossip. Instead of engaging, you smile and say, "I'd rather focus on the task right now." A family member criticizes your choices. Instead of arguing, you respond, "I hear your perspective, but I'm making this decision with clarity." Over time, the people around you adapt to your new signal, or they drift away. Either outcome affirms your growth. Here's a boundary rehearsal protocol. 1. Identify one recurring interaction that drains you. 2. Write down a clear, kind response. 3. Practice speaking it aloud daily until it feels natural. 4. When the situation arises, breathe, deliver, and hold your ground. This is how you train your nervous system to treat boundaries as normal, not confrontational. So here's the takeaway: social field. Ecology means recognizing that your relationships mirror your signal. Some will test it, others will harmonize with it. Boundaries are the ecosystem that protects your coherence. Speak them with clarity, rehearse them without guilt, and watch how your social field reorganizes to match the frequency you now embody. After all the practices of visualization, coherence, resilience, and bridging, there comes a paradoxical final step, allowing. This is the stage where striving softens into serenity and where neediness dissolves into presence. It's not about giving up discipline, but about releasing the grip of desperation. Allowing is the power state where your energy stops pushing and starts magnetizing. It is here that you discover the paradox: the less you grasp, the more the field responds. Pause here. Think of water. Try to hold it tightly in your fist, and it slips away. Cup your hand gently, and it rests with ease. Desire works the same way. When you clutch at it with neediness, the frequency of lack leaks out. But when you hold it softly, with trust and steadiness, the field mirrors that serenity. You don't lose discipline, you redirect it toward creating inner safety rather than outer chasing. What that actually means is allowing is not passivity. It's active serenity. It's choosing to remain coherent, steady, and receptive rather than frantic, forceful, and reactive. Allowing requires trust in the process, but it also requires daily practices that condition your body to feel safe in that trust. Without discipline, allowing collapses into laziness. Without allowing, discipline hardens into control. The power state is the union of both. Feel the difference when you move through your day from serenity rather than striving. Striving says, if I don't get this now, I'll never be complete. Serenity says, I am already complete, and I welcome what aligns. One contracts, the other expands, and expansion is what draws reality into form. Here's a paradox practice: discipline your body, surrender your grip, wake at the same time, eat nourishing foods, breathe steadily. But within those actions, release the timeline. Say to yourself, I do the practice, and I let the outcome unfold. This pairing trains your nervous system to associate effort with serenity, not with panic. Another metaphor: think of a musician. The best performances arise not from straining, but from flow. The discipline of rehearsal builds skill, but the magic of performance comes when the musician surrenders to the music. The same is true with manifestation. Train your identity with discipline, then surrender into the song of allowing. Which brings us to the Serenity Rehearsal, a 5-minute daily sequence designed to anchor this paradox into your body. It integrates breath, posture, and micro-choices. Minute 1, breath, alignment. Sit tall, feet grounded. Inhale slowly for 5 counts. Exhale for 7. With each breath, imagine tension leaving your body. Minute 2, posture presence. Roll your shoulders back. Lift your chest gently. Soften your jaw. Whisper inwardly, I am safe to receive. Minute 3, micro-choice awareness. Recall one small decision you'll face today. Choose the option that feels calm rather than anxious. Imagine yourself acting on it with ease. Minute 4, serenity statement. Place a hand on your chest. Repeat softly, I am complete now. I allow what aligns. Let the words settle into your nervous system. Minute 5, silent integration. Close your eyes, breathe naturally, and simply rest in stillness. No grasping, no reaching, only presence. Pause and notice the shift. In 5 minutes, your entire system recalibrates. Serenity becomes not just an idea, but an embodied frequency. This rehearsal, practiced daily, conditions your body to make serenity your default state. From here, allowing becomes natural, not forced. So here's the takeaway: embodiment gives you the structure, but allowing gives you the flow. Together, they form serenity as a power state. You don't abandon effort, you refine it. You don't surrender goals, you surrender desperation. And in that paradox, you become magnetic. The field mirrors not your striving, but your serenity. That is when manifestation stops being pursuit and becomes presence. You've traveled through vision, coherence, resilience, bridging, and boundaries. You've walked through turbulence and learned to read signs without grasping. And now you stand in the final lesson: serenity, the paradox of allowing. the journey wasn't about forcing reality to bend. It was about remembering the frequency that was always yours to embody. Pause here, breathe softly. Let your chest expand without strain. Feel how even in this moment, your nervous system understands you are safe. You are steady. You are whole. This is the quiet power state. Not dramatic, not frantic, not desperate, simply present. And presence is what makes your frequency undeniable. The truth is, you don't need to chase proof. The proof is already here in your breath, in your awareness, in the way your energy feels different now compared to when you began. Every micro-choice has been practice, and practice has become embodiment. You are not reaching toward a future self, you are standing as them, now. Remember, this manifestation isn't about winning the universe's approval. It's about becoming coherent enough that the universe has no option but to mirror you. And the mirror responds best when you are still, when you trust, when you allow. That is the discipline of serenity, the power of doing less while being more. So as you close this session, carry 3 reminders. 1. Your signal is stronger than your circumstances. 2. Your presence is louder than your words. 3. Your serenity is magnetic enough to shift the field. Take one last breath with me. Inhale, calm. Exhale, release. Whisper inwardly, I am already complete. Let that settle, not as an idea, but as a lived state. When life challenges you again, and it will return to this rehearsal. Return to breath, to posture, to presence, because serenity is not fragile, it is resilient. And each time you choose it, you deepen the imprint of who you truly are. Carry this awareness gently into your day. Walk as though the field has already said yes, because it has.